And now, may I invite Mr. Simon Ng, Chief Executive Officer of BEC, to come on stage and deliver the closing remarks. Simon, please.
Okay. Excuse me. Okay. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us today. Actually, I want to follow Eddie and tell you a story. When we put together today's concept of trying to marry the two COPs and try to start promoting the interconnection between climate and nature, and I was talking with Merlin, and to be honest, I'm not sure whether this is going to get any traction. I'm not sure whether this is interesting enough, actually, to draw you into the room and having a good conversation. But I think the outcome is, as I can tell, and hopefully you concur with me, that actually today we have a really wonderful session. Well, not just one session, but actually 4 sessions. A lot of very informative presentation, very inspiring, and hopefully that will lead us into, the beginning of, what we consider a very important integrated kind of approach as we address climate and nature together. If you have enjoyed the conference today, can you raise your hand so that I kind of know you are happy or not? Okay, thank you. I'm also very satisfied today because I think at the end of the day, this is how it matters. If we can put together something that resonates with you and the audience, not just you in the room, but also we know we have participants joining us online. So I think altogether, we had a great time today. So that's important. Now, I've been listening, of course, downstairs, and I've been jotting down a lot of information because, like I said, there's a lot of learnings today, a lot of insight. Now, I'm not going to summarize everything, but there are a few things I just want to remind you what we have covered. Starting from talking about subnational players in the first session and non-state players, including the business sector, and I'm talking about us and what we can do. And I remember Dr. Van Dyke talking about the strength of Hong Kong, so post-COP, and as we prepare for the next COP, and in between what we can offer in Hong Kong is the free flow of goods, information, capital, and people. So I think that's important, that's our strength. We also talk about, in the next session, new risks, transitional risks. And I think it is important for us to know your intended audience and speak the language. I think that's one of the tips from one of the panelists, so that's important. And actually, we mentioned a few times the word lunch. At first, I thought they were hungry. But of course, as you think about lunch, actually, it's related to climate and it's also related to nature. In the afternoon, we talk a lot about business case. Biodiversity is becoming more and more important for business to become sustainable. I think one panelist mentioned the challenge related to resource mobilization. We talk about nature transition plan versus climate transition plan, so that's also important. And Simon Chen, you talk about whole of government and whole of community approach. And I think that's not new, but that's important for us to remember. And in the last panel, Eddie, you talk about materials. If I get it right, that's interesting, that's fun. Now, but I think the most interesting part, the most funny part is in the morning, our commissioner for climate actually say, Hong Kong is like operating a supermarket, selling high-end and low-end carbon credits. Okay, now, so with all these, I would say, interesting lines, all these quotes, all these new knowledges, and all these, I think, good examples, I hope we've got enough, to move forward together. This is just the beginning of this conversation about integrated approach for climate and nature, or nature and climate. And I do believe that, maybe next year, we should come back with a much more detailed and with more depth in terms of the conversation, and we should do it together again. Now, before I close, there are a few things I also want to say. Maybe one takeaway message for all of you. I remember Susan saying, and repeatedly, actually nature is not a new topic. And I do agree with her that nature is not new. But we are beginning, the business community, we are beginning to rediscover there's a strong connection between nature, biodiversity, climate, of course, and the business sector and our operation. So with that, I think as we start looking into nature, I hope you will look at it with the same level of interest as we did with climate. But don't look at it in isolation. We have to consider the two important topics together. And lastly, there's no nature without climate, and no climate without nature. So I hope you remember this line. Now, before I really close the conference, I want to thank all of you for staying with us until the very end. I want to thank our sponsors. I want to thank our board directors, our members, and of course our business partners and stakeholders joining us. And let's not forget our speakers and moderators and those joining us online. I think this is, like I said, a beginning of something really important and maybe meaningful for the Hong Kong business community on the climate and nature agenda. With that, I wish you a wonderful weekend, and I hope to see you again in our next event. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Simon, for summarizing the presentations and also the discussions we had today. Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes the BEC EnviroSeries conference today. Thank you very much for your support and participation. We look forward to seeing you again in the next EnviroSeries conference. Thank you again and have a wonderful evening. Goodbye.